Hello guys and welcome back to a brand new match review here on the channel. My name is James and today we're going to go ahead and sit down and talk to you guys about Reading's massive 1-0 win in the Berks Bucks derby over Wycombe Wanderers. That's right, the Royals took all 3 points in RG2 as we went ahead and secured our 18th league victory of the season. I got to say, this was a fantastic win today, and really, Reading fought hard. Reading weren't the better of the two teams, but Reading dug in deep, and they had they can come away being proud of themselves. Now look, I got to say, Wycombe were the better of the two sides. They definitely had more opportunities than Reading, but I got to say they failed to create anything that was clear cut. They definitely had the better of the ball, but overall they lacked a cutting edge up front, and really Reading took advantage of that by scoring their one massive opportunity. Now, in terms of the starting 11 that Noel Hunt went with today, we had a few returns from injury as we went ahead and saw Joel Pereira continue to remain in between the sticks. Kelvin Abrafo played at right back, while we saw the return of Amadou Mbenge and Tyler Bindon. Andre Garcia also returned from injury as he was playing at left back. Returns, no, the midfield three stayed the same as always. The consistency in this Reading side as Lewis Wing, Charlie Savage and Harvey Knibbs played in the middle. We then saw Chem Campbell and Mamadou Kamara play out wide, while Kelvin Ehebatchaman was the sole striker today. In terms of individual performances, I've got to say I did think Kelvin Ehebatchaman had a very poor game today, and before his penalty win I thought Chem Campbell was pretty poor. Because he won the penalty, I'll let Chem Campbell off. But Ehebatchaman I thought had a pretty poor game, and going into it I really thought Jaden Wareham would get the start, but he didn't get the nod. It was Ehebatchaman who was up front, and I really thought he struggled to hold the ball up massively today. I've got to say Andre Garcia was pretty poor as well. I thought Adam Reach was having all the fun in the world coming up against him, and I'm really surprised that Wycombe didn't exploit that a little more than they did. He rightfully got hooked off about the 60th minute as Tavonge Rashisha came on, and Rashisha played really well. I've got to say, for the 30 minutes that he was on the pitch, I've got to give him his credit. I thought Kelvin Abrafo did all right as well for Reading. I thought he had a decent game, but the game massively changed for the Royals up front when Jaden Wareham came on, and he was a lot more of a nuisance up front for them Wycombe defenders. I've got to say they really struggled to contain Wareham in my opinion, and I thought his pressure and him just constantly being a nuisance to them two centre-backs massively paid off for Reading. Now, in terms of opportunities in that first half, like I said, Wycombe were the better of the two sides, and their first chance came just 3 minutes in. It came when a high press ended up seeing them win the ball back, and Adam Reach went for a lob over Joel Pereira, but our Portuguese number one was able to tip it over the crossbar. After that, Wycombe didn't really create any massive amounts of opportunities per se, but they just had a lot of the ball in Reading's final third. Nothing really where Joel Pereira was massively tested. There was a few shots here and there, a few headers, maybe from Sonny Bradley and Adam Reach as well, but nothing really in particular where it was like, oh, that was trouble in Reading. Like, Wycombe were the better of the two sides, don't get me wrong, and we're getting in much better positions than the Royals. Maybe had 6, 7, 8 corners in just that first half alone. But they didn't really create anything with it, and that's what I mean with that attacking threat. They didn't really come with one. One thing I've got to touch on in that first half is the abysmal refereeing as well that was on display. It was a really poor game from the ref in my opinion, and I thought he was dreadful in that first half. There was multiple times where I felt like Reading were fouled, and Wycombe Wanderers players were going down like flies. Any time that there was a tiny bit of contact on them in a contact sport, they were flying over. At one point, one of the players did like a 720, and he ended up getting nibs booked, and I thought it was really poor display from the ref today. There was a bit of handbags as well, as all derby days do have. Amadou Mbenge and Xavier Simmons were two players that ended up scrapping. Handbags, like we said, they were grabbing each other, ended up having all the players coming over, and eventually both players got booked. Second half saw Reading come out and look much better. Even, like I say, from the 40th minute onwards, Reading were a lot better and started to come more into the game. Wycombe didn't have it all their way after that, but they did have the first big opportunity of the second half. 61 minutes in, it came when Grimmer had a cross into the box. Kone ended up flicking it on, and it's where it came its way to former Royal Gareth McCleary. McCleary ended up heading it, and once again, it was another good save from Joel Pereira. Like I said, Pereira had a fantastic game today. I thought he was outstanding in net for Reading, and look, could have had the man of the match. I really thought there was a few players that were in contention for that today. Tyler Bindon and Amadou Mbenge could end up sharing it. Honestly, they must be the best centre-back pairing in the division. The two of them at centre-back are absolutely unreal, and I thought today did a fantastic job on Richard Kone. Reading, though, ended up getting the goal scoring underway in the 77th minute. Like we said, it was Chem Campbell that ended up winning the penalty. He ended up getting fouled in the box on the left-hand side. He swapped wings with Kamara, and he ended up winning that penalty just inside the box. I've seen a few shouts saying that it wasn't a penalty, and the Wycombe manager was absolutely fuming in his post-match interview, saying that it was never a penalty. maybe he got the ball, but I do think he took a little bit of the man out. I haven't seen a replay like full on, so look, maybe I'm sitting here and wrong. But either way, the referee gave it, and Harvey Knibbs stepped up as he always does. Reading did their normal trick of someone else having the ball, waiting, and then Harvey Knibbs steps up. He took the penalty opposite side to where he normally takes his penalty, as Will Norris was wrong-footed and sent the opposite way. And Harvey Knibbs ended up scoring, and Reading ended up picking up all 3 points. I've got to say, Wycombe really once again struggled to create any clear-cut opportunities after Reading scored. Again, had the ball, but not a lot of attacking threat, and really Reading were kind of comfortable going into the end. There was quite a few times where Reading had a few scrambles in the box and had to clear the ball away, but again, Joel Pereira was not massively tested. Now, Reading ended up picking up all 3 points, and the scenes at the end of the game were absolutely fantastic. Joel Pereira and Amadou Mbenge celebrating almost as if they'd won the league. There was a Wycombe head loss in there as well, and I've got to say that was always nice to see that. As it stands, Reading currently sit in 6th position. Bolton are currently drawing 0-0 at the moment, so fingers crossed Reading could end up staying in that 6th spot come the end of this match day. And look, one thing I want to touch on as well is Reading's record at home against the top 3 in the division this season. You take a look at Birmingham, Wrexham and Wycombe, who Reading have played at the moment at home. All 3 of the top 3 teams, they've kept clean sheets in them all. Reading are outstanding, really, against that top 3 so far this season, and only lost 1, which was that early season game against Wrexham. 6 games to go now until the end of the season, and Reading came up against a Wycombe side that were the #1 team in the league away from home coming into this, and look, they grinded the result out. It wasn't a game where Reading were dominant and we come away from this thinking, what a fantastic performance. No, it was one of them games where Reading just had to get all 3 points, and they did. Right, that's going to be it for this one today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. And I've got to say, this tastes like promotion. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.